you didn't just choose this room because the others were full. But if you did, we are still happy to have you, or maybe it's our family and friends that felt sorry for us for joining. But no, seriously, definitely we're here to speak with you about any questions that you may have about the Air Force's approach and about Agility Prime. All of those hard questions go to Natasha, so she gets all the hard ones. But really, I'm excited to be here. Just a little bit about who I am, where I come from, because I think it helps. So the Air Force warfighting integration capability, and we're really focused on trying to come up with what that design of the future is. Some people think design thinking, what is it? Right? I like to say, you can imagine, you can make like an artist sketch of the future, like that building, that architect. Like, what does that architect draw? It may not be every floor and the engineering specs of every floor, but it is kind of like those attributes of what that future needs to be. So I am honored to be in an organization that gets to do that, and honored that I get to partake in what I think could be completely transformative, both for the government, for the Air Force, but really for whole of society. And we think about aviation a different way. And for me, aviation is so intertwined into the kind of the fabric of Americana. It is so much about who we are and really, but actually globally, right? It is an exciting time. You know, if you can imagine, for those that have taken a flight in an aircraft, that first time you get in a plane, get that huge smile. I remember my kids did that. They could not believe it. And we really want to bring, I think part of our effort is really to bring that to everybody. Some people call this the democratization of flight. So with that, I will, I guess, kick it over to the audience. I don't know, Elise, if you've got some questions that are flowing in. I can't keep up with the chat, but over to you.
All right, so it looks like we have one here. So Brendan says, a lot of conversation has surrounded hardware manufacturing. I'm curious about any consideration being given to air traffic management and integrating mixed equipage systems into various types of, it's an acronym, OCONUS and CONUS airspace.
CONUS and CONUS, absolutely. Sir, I actually just came off being the ComNav Surveillance Air Traffic Management Program Manager for C5. So I will tell you the Air Force is always thinking about that, but Colonel McKeever might actually have a lot more background in talking about that, because I just made sure that it happened on the aircraft.
Yes, that's a great question, Brendan. And I think, you know, this really gets at the heart of our interagency approach to this. So NASA and the FAA have entire teams that are focused on how to integrate new systems, right? If you listen to what Dr. Romanowski talked about, and I think even what Paul Sciarra talked about, when it comes to thousands of these things potentially flying, you've got to rethink the whole nature of how our airspace is governed, how it works. But that doesn't happen overnight. So I think by partnering with the Air Force in some of those early use cases, we can kind of we can test out some of those hypotheses, excuse me, and really test out the different ways of approaching airspace. And it is clear that there will be lots of old tech, old planes that are going to be flying in and amongst the new stuff. So our approach has to include all of that ecosystem, because it is important. And some of those things will be military things, not just civil things that need to be flying through that airspace. So yes, there is a huge interagency effort. And we're actually on the Air Force side, I wouldn't say late to that game, because we've been doing lots of things in the UAS, so the unmanned air system, smaller, and others, but from Amazon to other folks are actively kind of pushing the art of the possible there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So some other sort of tactical questions about how to get involved. So are there opportunities for providers of key subsystems for landing, collision avoidance, et cetera, to work directly with Agility Prime?
Absolutely. So this is actually one of my favorite companies, because questions for companies, because a lot of people think that, oh man, if I can't submit to the ICO or one of the AOIs, I can't be a part of Agility Prime. That's absolutely not the truth. In fact, in December, we put out a request for information out on what used to be Fed BizOps. Now it should be migrated over to ESAM. And it's an opportunity for those subsystem manufacturers and those individuals with wonderful ideas to submit innovative ideas. It's an opportunity for us to see what is out there and maybe do all of the networking necessary to link them with your major aircraft manufacturers, your OEMs, right? And what you'll find out is that we in the Air Force are always looking for new opportunities to make those type of linkages between companies. I will tell you, coming to this launch week would be a wonderful time to network, especially in these networking sessions, and as an opportunity to get your name into that AFWERX ecosystem. Because I will tell you, AFWERX is really, really great about bringing in new companies. I worked on a project prior to this where we were building a new helmet for the Air Force, because a little of you may not know, back when they built that helmet, women could not fly. And I don't know if you see all of this on my head, it would not fit in a traditional helmet. So AFWERX was in charge of bringing all of these new people in. So just like AFWERX does, Agility Prime is mirroring that same type of thinking, that new innovation. And I will tell you, we accept almost everyone. In fact, I met two 17-year-olds who were making helmets out of their garage using the idea of the fruit baskets on the head from the Chiquita Banana Woman. Anything we accept. We're trying to be more positive and getting to yes.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so I think we'll take, we have time for one more question and then we'll move into some smaller breakouts. So this is from JJ Johnson at Raytheon. So there's been very minimal talk so far on the integration and interaction of UAS service suppliers, agents like AirMap, SkyGrid, Collins Aerospace as providers as key in as information and data between the operators and the system. How is that interaction being woven in?
Sure, Natasha, can I get this one?
No, Colonel McKeever, by all means.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think he's just prepping the audience, because this afternoon is exactly kind of that theme, right? So we realized we have focused a little bit, at least this morning, right, on the vehicles. But as you heard all the other speakers talk, this is about an ecosystem. This is about an entire, this is, everything from the electrical power grid that needs to be updated, the charging stations, to airspace, to artificial intelligence enabling autonomy in a different sort of way. And this is flight controls, and all of this stuff we think will actually lower the barrier of entry for potential pilots of the future. They might actually be more like vehicle operators. So all of this tech, which is important, which some of these companies are doing themselves, but some of them are reaching out to others, that will really be a theme for this afternoon. So thank you for that question.
All right, thanks so much. So we will archive these questions and go through them and get back to you. Thank you so much for the questions. We're gonna move now into our world record breaking effort and send you all into smaller breakout teams to have some more intimate conversation. So George, if you would pull up for us for breakouts. So this is what we're going to ask you to do. So we'll send you into a small room with just a couple other folks, and there's a first step. So first, we're going to ask you just to introduce yourselves and have some conversation about what you're doing specifically as related to this effort. Take just about 5 or 6 minutes to do that as a team. We'll then have you take a quick shot of your Zoom breakout. So you can do that with your iPhone, you can take a screenshot, but capture your team working together. And then finally, the last thing is to post your screenshot or your photograph on some form of social media. The other thing too, I'd encourage you to either take a screenshot of this assignment or take a quick picture of this assignment, because when we send you into breakouts, it'll go away. So that's what we have ahead for the next, I'd say about 10 minutes, and then we'll bring you back into the large group. So go have some great conversations.
And I will tell you, we have an innovation hall pass. So if you're not going to be a part of the conversation, you can get out of the room.
We'll see in a little.
The timer ended, so everyone's piling back in.
Okay. So again, this is just a quick regroup to tell you what's ahead next. So we're going to have everyone return back to the main Agility Prime channel, where we have a very special guest coming up. So I would encourage you to make sure that you tune back in. Thank you again for this conversation. We hope that you've met some interesting folks and that you'll be in touch going forward. And with that, thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you, Elise. Thank you, George.
Wow.
Elise,
Jump on and we have special guests.
believe we go back, or we leave and go, everybody goes to the YouTube and we go back to where we're supposed to.
Yep, back, everyone's gone back to Agility Prime, the YouTube channel, and then yes, you're back to wherever you were, I guess, assigned before.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
So, bye.
Hold
Yep,
on.
Participation.
back to the YouTube feed for a very special guest.